Alrighty folks, welcome back to yet another video. So we are working on the Toyota once again. We're going to be finishing up the front end today, which should be pretty simple and quick. We do have to put in our new headlights, fog lights, and then the new grille, which I roughly just kind of plopped in here. It's not mounted to anything, so it's still very loose, and the fitment's kind of iffy. Low beam, high beam, and then the signal light, which this, oh, I just noticed, this is an LED right here. Look at that. This is still the original, but yeah, some of the mounting points are kind of broken on here just because when we took them off there was a lot of rust, so I do have to kind of fabricate some stuff, especially with the fog light area. The bolts were super rusted, and as I unbolted them they just pretty much snapped. So let me show you guys what I have here. This is the whole kit. We have a new headlight housing down here, another headlight housing, and this one has a blacked out kind of look on the inside, kind of giving you some more contrast, kind of modernizes the look. The bulbs are over here. We got LED bulbs. I don't know if they're all the same. This is 9005 HP3, so one of them is a high beam, one of them is a low beam, so I gotta kind of figure out which one is which. Then we have new fog lights here, look pretty clean. This pretty much mounts on with one screw over here, which was not supplied in terms of the hardware, but this is the part where we're gonna have some trouble with because I don't have the original locking nut, and the original one is rusted up and broken, so I might just JB weld it or something like that. But these are pretty much ready to go. They have the bulbs pre-installed in here, which is nice, so I don't need to replace those. I got my little ratchet thingamajig here, and I have the hardware for the headlights itself, and this is the condition of the bolts. Like, it looks really rusty, but these should be fine. I can reuse these. I do have some zip ties and some JB weld just in case I need to kind of DIY mount this stuff. But this should be a pretty simple process. I just have to pull the bumper off, which already the bolts have been released, and then just start plugging away. So I'm going to start with the headlights first because that is the main area we want to address. I'm going to take a look at the driver's side here. So we have a standard bulb, which it's all cracked up. I don't even think these light up anymore because of how like worn down they are. But all right, so let's take a look at this whole setup here. I think the signal lights we're gonna leave original just because I didn't buy any signal lights, but these do look pretty messed up. I hope they work still. These two main bulbs, however, we can change. We have our new kit here. Let's grab the same model number, 906 HB4, and we're gonna just plug this in. Very simple. I'm also gonna change the high beam here. This original one says 9005. So let's grab a 9005 and plug that in. I probably should have bought some signal lights, but I didn't realize that I had to get these, but it is what it is. I can always change it in the future. So now let's install the new headlight housing and see how it looks, if it fits in everything too. I'm gonna remove the backing tape. And the sockets are already in here, as you can see. We just essentially connect those onto here. So I'm gonna take the new bulb. It has like the little notches on here, so they just slide right in. I'm gonna try to not scratch it up. Line up the notches and give it a clockwise turn, locking it in place. Do that with every single piece here. All right, I'm starting to have a bit of an issue with this signal light. The actual notches don't even line up. So I might have to kind of cut it or force it in here somehow. Make sure everything lines up. With this being an aftermarket part, you know, fitment's always going to be a little tricky. We have one tab lined up, but the rest of them don't really line up properly. Especially this one on the bottom, it's way off. All right, so this is what it's looking like. This is not lining up to anything. This is getting close to the bolt that we need it to go to. And this over here is pretty far, as you can see. That, I'm not sure if that should be going behind it or in front of it, but based on the tab, it wants to go in front. Although usually when you have these little clip mounting brackets, they go behind. But yeah, I'm gonna try to play around with the fitment of this and try to get it to sit proper. I might have to drill out some holes or do some cutting, maybe use some zip ties and, you know, try to figure out this fitment. But at least from the style, it looks pretty decent. All right, so we got the 2 bolts in. I was able to finally get it to line up somewhat. The gap here is way off compared to the original system, but that's fine. This bolt here is not gonna line up whatsoever, but I think it still should be fine because it holds pretty tightly. Alrighty, so same situation here. We're gonna change out the bulbs first. I'm gonna leave the signal light here as is. I'm gonna pull out the connections for the main headlight and the high beam here. All right, so we have new LED bulbs here, still the old halogen style for the signal light, which is fine. Now we can insert these connections into the headlight here. Pop that in. Turn right. Bam. This one doesn't even fit into the socket. Wow, that's great. All right, so this is what's going on. So this plastic bit here is way too big to fit into that hole. So if you see, the bulb goes in and then it just kind of slams into the housing. So I'm gonna see what I can do, maybe trim this down a bit. Eventually I'm gonna have to just get new turn signal bulbs on both sides because I think the LEDs, they're smaller. These are really chunky, and I believe this housing was designed for LEDs. So I just took a blade and I basically just started cutting away some of the tabs on the little hole here. And now, since we widened it up, now that it's wider, we can actually fit this in just like that. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of sealant to really glue it in place, and it should hold. Got some JB Weld here. This thing does wonders with anything. Essentially, this is a clay that becomes a hard resin once you mix it up. And as it starts working, you can feel the clay material start heating up, and that's where it's ready to go. And you only have about a minute to work with this before it hardens fully. Just really stick it on there. It's not gonna be super pretty, but just enough to hold. Apparently this little tab down here is causing a clearance issue. This whole bracket that pretty much doesn't need to be used. I could just use a Dremel, which would be so much faster, but I don't want to set all that up. And this plastic's pretty easy to cut, even with a small blade like this. Alrighty, so we have both headlights in, got the passenger and the driver's side mounted on. I was able to kind of finesse it and get it to fit. This one over here, this bolt is no good because clearly, as you can see, it's stripped and the head is completely gone because of the rust. That happened during the disassembly process. Oh, I'm gonna remove this before I leave it here forever. But yeah, we can move on to now the fog lights, which slot in from the front side going inward, and it just has one bolt here. And this is the connection. Now, yet again, I don't have any hardware for this, so I guess JB Weld's your friend. You get to JB Weld everything on now. So the new fog light just slots in from the front side of the bumper. Comes right in like that. And then the little hardware piece comes through. Let me see, it depends on the angle how you're gonna get this through. It's kind of a tricky angle, I gotta say. There we go. All right, it also kind of holds itself in place even without the hardware. So honestly, I don't think I even need to put JB Weld or any screws because there are tabs that it clicks into. Because look, if I push it, it doesn't go anywhere. These hooks kind of grab onto the housing anyway. All right, so everything is installed. We just have to put the bumper back on and kind of fix up this grill because it's just hanging on a thin thread here. So let's just lift this up and hopefully everything lines up properly. I'm gonna try to get the front portion loaded up here. Sheesh, look at that. We have put everything back together. The fitment honestly is not too bad. We have the fog lights down here, as you can see on both sides, nice and crystal clear. The new headlights. This grille, however, oh my gosh. We have one tab in here on the back side, the other one snapped off. So that's why it's kind of swinging about. But we do have to put the bumper bolts back in, which should eventually sandwich through that and hold it still. I'm not too sure what this is all about. This might have been from the I don't even think this is part of the latch. I think this was from the original grill where the hardware mounted onto this. But I do want to start up the car and kind of take a look at what these new headlights look like. Alrighty, so we have completely finished the front end. We confirmed that all the lights are working and they're nice and bright. Man, this project is coming along really far. So now that we have the whole front end pretty much done, we can move on to the rest of the paint job. I got the wheels painted white already. I painted the mirror housing gloss black. I still need to do the roof and the rear end of the car. I did just lay down some base coat on the rear bumper. As you can see, no clear. So this is cleared, this is not cleared. And we do have to do the trunk. So we're almost there. I did lose one of the hubcaps somehow, but that's fine. I might actually just take them all off just to make it consistent. Car is super dirty, still needs to be washed down. This whole section, we had a bit of a clear coat run, which I sanded down. We just have to buff it out. This quarter area has been polished already. That's why it's nice and shiny. We still need to wet sand all of this and polish it. But yeah. And we also have to put in all this trim over here. This is all exposed. We got to put the wiper blades back on, clean up everything. But yeah, we are almost done. We are at the finish line. I'm gonna finish off the rest of the paint job off camera. But yeah, this is pretty much the progress so far. I will be coming back with a couple more episodes, finishing up some maintenance and getting this thing ready to go back on the road. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the future episodes.